We are live, guys, doing a rare, not market open, but little after market open with Evan, stock market news. Evan, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. It is quite the crazy day. We got
You
a
might
Jerome
be
Powell.
muted. I can't hear you, Evan.
Oh
But
man, wait,
Evan
you
will be
can?
here.
My check.
Today, of course, going to talk BM&R rate cuts. We'll talk maybe just a little bit about the Robinhood Summit. There's some Nvidia news. There's always Nvidia news, it seems like. And of course, a few other things. If you guys have questions in the comments, a lot of the answers will be I don't know or I'm not sure. I'll just be honest where I'm at. But we are glad to talk with you guys today. Short stream today, probably about an hour. But thank you guys for being with us.
Can you hear me?
Evan, are you there?
Can you hear me? Brett's
They
saying
say that they can hear you, and I can't hear you.
okay, I'm
So,
gonna get a quick
do you
reconnect.
mind exiting and coming back? Thanks. Yeah, he'll be here just back. StreamYard's great when it works, and sometimes it doesn't work so well at all. So, um, yeah, loving doing this. Thank you guys for saying that you could hear Evan too. And yeah, so let me go ahead and share. He'll be back here shortly, I'm sure. Those things I wanted to ask and pick his brain on. Nvidia, of course, is down 2.6% today for a stock this size. It's quite the move. And a big part of that are the headlines of this. China tells tech firms to stop buying Nvidia's AI chips. Let me bring Evan back in here. Evan,
Hear me now?
I
Can you
can
hear
hear
me?
you. Yes.
Yeah, there we go. I
All
also
right.
the VPN, so no one's trying to hack me right now. I'm
Good.
doing well. This is quite the crazy day, though, Roy. We got Powell. We got this Meta Connect event, which I am super excited about. That no one's talking. It's coming up after the close. Then also, I'm flying. I'm the idiot. I booked a flight right during the Apple event. I booked a flight right during FOMC. I completely forgot. Flight's gonna have
I guess that's the way to do it. So, are you on a plane right now?
no. We got a flight in a little bit, and I know
And
so
now I
far
can't
with
hear
the
him.
way.
So if you guys can hear him, great. It might be a little bit in and out today. So yeah, there is quite the event, quite the news. Always is in the market. This is the first one that I wanted to talk about a little bit. It's kind of interesting because Nvidia seems to be stuck in the crosshairs between the United States and China and tariffs. And of course, initially. Trump had said, nope, NVIDIA cannot sell chips. H10s were allowed. H10s then all of a sudden weren't allowed without a license. That got worked through. Of course, we had the TikTok news the other night, last night, which seems like that's settled. But in spite of that, China here is saying tech firms need to stop buying NVIDIA's AI chips. Now, there's a lot of pieces to this, but of course, the nice thing about NVIDIA, where they're at, is this was not, there were not any expectations as far as Chinese revenue baked into the stock price. Analysts, a few of them might have put that in there, but as far as guidance, there was nothing. So this isn't, it's a surprise, but it's not like the end of NVIDIA or the end NVIDIA run. Evan, do you have any thoughts on NVIDIA in this news?
Can you hear me? How are we feeling? Does it sound better too? I connected my mic.
Hmm.
What is happening? All right, we're going to give it one more reconnect.
Can you guys hear Evan in the comments? Because I might need to be the one to leave and come back in. Okay, let me re-add the stage. All right, Evan.
Can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
Okay. This is, I don't know what's happening here. This time now it's weird. At first I was like, all right, it's my computer and stuff, but you're saying maybe it's you, Roy. Nvidia, what's the news? China. I think it's just being used as a bargaining chip right now. We'll see. They have zero revenue baked into it. Zero Nvidia China revenue baked in. So I just don't think it's that big of a deal. It's all upside. So can you hear me? What a time. What a time to be alive.
Yeah. It's swing back and forth. I think this will get worked out. I mean, Jensen seems to have very good relations with China and the United States too, but there's always something in the news. Now, you're right. Nobody's talking about the Meta event, and I'm not in Meta. It is one of those that I did pick in the stock draft, but it's paper trading essentially. I'm bullish on the company. Think it's a really good CEO. Think they're very well positioned. Can invest in it. So I'm curious. Is there something that you think that they'll drop or announce? Any expectations tonight from you, Evan?
You can hear me though, Roy, right?
I can.
All right, this is what a time to be alive. Okay, so the big rumor that's going around, Meta is about to drop a $800 pair of glasses that will have a heads-up display on them. It is similar to the Ray-Ban glasses, a little bit more. There was, I don't know how much we trust leaks and stuff. Lux Algo put out a video the other day, which I retweeted. I'm like, all right, is this real? I don't fully know, but that's kind of a feel of that's what's expected. $800 is the price point. To me, I'm kind of a tech guy, and this is like you can tell this is a little bit of thicker glass and stuff, and we'll see what they actually look like. Like no one know like the Meta Ray-Bans that are out there right now, no one can ever tell the difference. They're pretty great. It's just right now they're for taking pictures and videos and stuff like that, and this is kind of getting to what the future more could be. So, yeah, I'm excited for it. The $800 glasses with a heads-up display is the thing that is expected to be coming tonight.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, people have expected that when Meta announces these sort of things, usually it hits with a splash too. Now, Google, of course, tried something like this. I'm old enough to remember Google Glasses. Some in the comments may not be. That was, of course, a flop, but that was perhaps well ahead of its time. It does seem like there's some demand, at least from augmented reality, that actually works well. But so I guess really the question that people have is this going to be enough to shift people away from primarily being on these devices to eventually being on augmented reality VR glasses? Or is that not even the vision with what Meta's doing?
I think it is the long-term vision, but I think the answer is no. To me, it's like still a couple of years out and maybe even a 5+. I don't fully know. But I think it's just like, hey, you're starting to see it. Well, some of those early days, they're really kind of start of it. So no, I don't think this is necessarily a thing that's the problem that people don't realize, and this is kind of the thing that maybe everyone doesn't understand about Apple is the phone is a quite perfect device, a quite perfect form factor, quite perfect for everything. So to come in and beat that is a really tough and high bar. So you maybe want to start to see that, and maybe the market likes to get ahead of itself and speculate, so you never know what it will end up doing. But no, to me, this is more like a step in the way, and this is an important step. The heads-up display is kind of like the part that I'm most excited about. So, yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. But I when I think about like, I don't think anyone's gonna come in and disrupt Apple, the iPhone. But it's like kind of like, what's the next form factor? How far away is it? And I kind of believe that Mark Zuckerberg is moving in the right direction. Not wrong, but a little early. So we'll see.
Yeah, less early than the Google Glasses for sure, and kind of like the Apple device. Initial reception was like, "This is the coolest thing," and then there was a lot of pushback too. So, but there's a lot of things you can do. Like this.
One thing I will
right.
say, that device was $3,500. This is $800.
Yes, yeah, that is very important too. And we've not tried the Apple device. One of my kids has the Quest 3. For me, it makes myself dizzy. I'm sure I'd get used to it eventually, but no, they love it. They think it's an amazing thing, and I think technology is going to go that direction. They'll get it right. Now, the question is, of course, if this will be, but that price point isn't going to scare off people, especially if they're trying to compare it with the phone. That's around the same cost as a phone. iPhone maybe a little bit more expensive, but Pixel certainly is right in there too. And there's a lot of things you can do with augmented reality that the phone is just not quite perfect with. And so Rambler mentioned you could have real-time translation like right there where you're seeing the words instead of in the ear, so you're still listening to the tone. You're listening to the words. I know that there's the earbuds, Pixel Buds as well, that do the translation too. But having some sort of prompter as well. We've seen some previews of some of these systems. We'll have to see where it goes and what direction that they'll do. But if anyone gets it right, I think Meta is probably the best position, both as somebody that can meld the hardware of that AR device along with the software itself on the AI side. They, of course, Zuckerberg brought over all these guys that were very high profile for a reason. It wasn't just like, hey, I like wasting money and lighting it on fire. The vision's a metaverse, and this is kind of a step towards that. So we'll have to see. Is there anything else expected or do you expect out of that Meta event?
I'm sure there is, but not that I would need to go in and talk about now. I'm excited about the glasses.
All right. So I want to talk to you about, because we were both at the Robinhood event.
Yeah.
Not so much like a review of the whole event and everything, and I do need to make a separate video on that. But did you have any takeaways from the Robinhood Summit itself? And it doesn't have to be in Robinhood.
Don't underestimate this Robinhood social thing. I've heard all the conversations about it. No one gets it. They haven't described what their actual vision is, but if they're going to tell you that this is important, Vlad has their product velocity, the way they do stuff. I bet you this is going to be important, and I promise you, a social network built with investors, all investors. I don't know how much people want to use it, but the advertising that would be able to pump through that. We're talking about $100 million segments here, and that's what they like show off, right?
Right.
That is an easy $100 million multi-segment that's also not correlated to trading. That's maybe a different cyclical business, but it is different. So I've heard the conversations going around, and what I would tell you is we don't know what the strategy is with this. I have heard one or two rumors of, I think Tanner's, I don't know, whatever. I believe people have been saying that, like, all right, they said that this is like the thing that people were most excited about, that this was the thing that was going to be the people that we're leaving with. And I've heard separate rumors that conversations have been had with Vlad where he has said that that they do plan maybe some advertising stuff on this longer term. So to me, watch out for that side of it. And I've heard a lot of the conversations that you guys have been having it. I would raise that it doesn't matter how much people want to use this. People will use it, and advertising going through that when you know what people own, when you have all that stuff, like there are multiple $100 million opportunities within that segment if they can go after them.
Yeah, and speaking of advertising, PayPal did announce some news on advertising, which we'll talk about in a little bit, because likewise, people in the market are like, "Oh, PayPal advertising, whatever." But like you said, when the platform knows who you are, they know your habits, they know what you've been spending for PayPal, like they know in a very granular detail, merchant side, consumer side, like it positions as well. Robinhood too, but even without that. It seems like there's an opportunity at the very least with the predictions market, and that this is another.
Do you know what'd be a crazy PayPal concept? I apologize for interrupting.
Oh, sure.
A service that for $30 a month, $50 a month helps you with your spending, helps you save some money. And if you can save people on average $300 a month, a $50 subscription, that's probably more than some of the revenue they'd be making some of this other stuff. And they can be helping people. They'll still it'll create more loyal users and things. So I don't know. I think there's some random different stuff of things that you can't expect, but controlling where people spend their money and do money conversations and thinking about it, it's a really valuable thing.
Yeah, when you have and control the data, there's a lot that you can do with it. And Alex Chris at one of these previous fireside chats last week actually mentioned mergers and acquisitions. And now that's not the main focus. The focus is, of course, right-sizing the business, which they've done a lot of, fixing the tech stack, making the product a lot more compelling, of course, launching new products off of their strategic moat, which is that double-sided data layer. But that was one of the things is I'm like, what might they seem as attractive as a smaller merger or acquisition? And there's a lot of companies that do exactly what you said, but you are better at doing that, of course, if you have access to the data already. And PayPal, certainly that would be a layup, I think, there. So we'd have to see. SUV said, did you see Evan's face? This is Evan's face, guys. So if you go to the Robinhood Summit and you see a guy with a big paper bag over his head, and no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I've met Evan a number of times. He's a great guy, and one of my favorite things about him too. If you guys don't follow him on X, I've got that listed below in the comments. Be sure to follow him. If you want somebody that's actually reliable, there's a lot of people out there that the first second something is even rumored, they post it. I'm not going to name names. I've made that mistake myself before. But Evan makes sure that the news is right, that he values accuracy over speed, although he is really fast too. A lot of times when I'm caught up in my day, and he's not a sponsor, he's just a friend. Yesterday was a really busy day for me. I'm like, okay, I could just go on Evan's stream or his feed there on X, get some of the highlights from the market right there. There's no bias or anything. He is a bit of an Apple fanboy, but you don't even see that in his post. That's how good Evan is. So
I appreciate you, sir. I will say face reveal. I think like I don't know. I'm just a private guy. I have nothing like that. I just don't. It's now that it's a thing. I am thinking about it, and it probably will happen at some point soon. I appreciate you, sir. I will say, listen. I'm working on. Once I get this face going, watch out, YouTube.
yeah,
about to become a
Evan.
menace.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's, and I respect the privacy. I understand that too. So at the Robinhood Summit, I agree with you. Of course, the company's very well positioned. Robinhood Social, I don't know if it'll work, as far as like a replacement on X. I don't know that it's even designed for, like, we don't know the goals. But one really nice thing, or I guess there's two things that I think are really smart with the way that they did this. One is predictions markets. You can leverage that right there on Robinhood Social. I'm not, into like sports predictions. That's most of the predictions there. But from what I understand, I know people that are very much into that. They love showing off their gains. They love showing off their predictions. They love doing that real time as well. And there's platforms where you can do that on, but as far as an integrated platform where you can actually show the verified bet of what you're doing and your verified gains as well, there's not something like that. And so I think that they certainly have an opportunity on that side. Beyond that, they made it from the screenshots and everything in the demonstration really easy to share from other platforms as well. And so this is also a free form of advertising for Robinhood. If you look on X, like, people still love sharing the screenshots from Robinhood. I usually use Robinhood throughout the day for that single stock screenshot. And so I think there will be a lot of people that look at those and are like, oh man, what platform is this? And they end up going to Robinhood from that. Advertisements, if they do that, is a layup, but I don't know that they'll do that direction. Now at the summit, beyond just Robinhood stuff, there was a stock that was perhaps discussed more than any others, not just in our little circle, but I think just around the whole summit. Any thoughts on what that might be, Evan?
Yeah, it's becoming a cult. I guess I always knew it was gonna be this, but I didn't think. BMNR, here we go. Not a bad day today.
Yeah, it's a little flat right now. It had a little pop earlier on, but it's up immensely if you look at it just since the Robinhood Summit. So it's up 33%. Now, I guess first, why is it becoming a bit of a cult, other than it just being fun?
Well, I don't know. I think it has all the stuff crypto, and then you throw Tom Lee in there, who's also kind of a cult. It's a perfect storm, but I don't know. I think the storm is there. We're in a meme time. You throw Tom Lee in a thing, you throw crypto in there. I'm not totally surprised there's a little bit of a cult forming around it. Now, there is a thesis on this one, and we can talk through it. Now, I just don't know what it's hard to say, okay, there is clearly something happening with these stable coins and the Genius Act and Ethereum usability. It doesn't directly lead towards, Ethereum going up, but it does lead to increased usage, which leads to increased burning of it, which kind of does. So it's a convoluted thing here where I don't know if this is a right here, right now thing, or if it's a next 3 to 5 years, whatever. But I don't know. It's a quite clear vision of stable coins, creating a lot of efficiencies across pretty much every single company, in that all these companies are paying a lot of fees to do different transactions, stuff online. And even if it's 1% fees, like on average across every other company, a technology that can do that at scale is pretty valuable. And again, there's questions of is Ethereum the one versus Solana versus the other ones? But yeah, I think the 1%, I think that's crazy to think that companies charge have 1% fees. Like Visa is charging 3% or something. I don't even know what it is for everyone. And yeah, Visa's not going to go down to a 0 fee, but if their margins go from, let's say it costs them a 1% of the fee is in cost and they're charging 3, if it goes down to 0.01%, and they're charging 0.3% fee or 0.4% fee, wherever that math works out, they're more efficient. They're making more money, and they're putting throughput in there, which is a lot more. So, Yeah, like we're watching Visa. I'm curious on your thoughts on this one. I feel like we've talked about this, so I don't want to. I could go through my whole thoughts there. I kind of just ended up like halfway going through it. So at some point, you maybe just go through. But what are your thoughts here? BM&R was definitely being talked about a lot. Why do you think it's kind of a cult, and what gets you excited?
Yeah. So a lot of those conversations began with, "I'm not a crypto guy or gal, but," and then they like got into BM&R, and a lot of that I think goes from mostly two reasons. There's probably some where people are just looking for opportunities, so that's probably a smaller factor. I think the Tom Lee effect is number one. Of course, he has been on quite a roll. Uh, Incredible investor. Retail knows him better than anybody else. During the bear market, he kind of disappeared a little bit, not from him, but as far as exposure. But the bull market, he was early proponent. He was right. He's right time and time again. The way that he speaks is very compelling. Like he lays out the case there, the thesis, and some of the things you said, in addition to 100% uptime, institutions actually wanting to build on a chain that's decentralized and that's well known, where developers actually are as well. Plus, there's more speculation as far as the treasuries. There's a lot going for Ethereum in itself. I think the hardest thing is trying to figure out how to value Ethereum or BM&R as a result, because it's a treasury. That's something that people ask me about. It's like, well, is there any correlation to this and this? It's like there's correlation to some things such as gas fees, but like the actual price of Ethereum, that's the tough part for me versus stocks. But what I think the other thing beyond Tom Lee effect of why I think people are really excited about this one is the fact that if they're not crypto people, a lot of times you're skeptical on the actual use cases. Now, I think stablecoin is far enough along as far as a narrative that people kind of understand, like, hey, there's something real here, and the United States has a vested interest in making sure that stablecoins, through the Genius Act and other means, get off the ground and do very well, because you have buying pressure on the 3-month treasury. And also you have the perpetuation of the US dollar, the global dollar, because a lot of the holders of stablecoins, US backed stablecoins, are international folks. And so those are two really good things for the United States. So people see that. They see the real world utility, even beyond stablecoins, of what's being built and has been built in Ethereum. And so as a treasury, where you can take a stock that is trading above its net assets under value, your MNAV specifically, and dilute against that it's overvalued on one side, so you buy more of the underlying, that actually creates shareholder value. We've seen this already too. Like the last little piece is, we've seen this play out with MicroStrategy. So if this had not been done at all, probably people would be saying, okay, Tom Lee has lost his marbles, he's off his rocker. But because Michael Saylor has done it and done it effectively, of course, in a bull market, people understand the thesis. And I think those that missed MicroStrategy, including myself, are more comfortable at this point because it's a proven concept to jump in at this point. So we'll have to see where it goes. BM&R for you, I know that you're in the cult too. Is this just...
I'm all in.
Okay,
Cult leader.
yeah.
I am not all in. So my definition of all in is super different, but I have it's my largest single stock holding. When I look at my entire portfolio, like maybe it's like 10% of everything I have in there, in one thing. But I'm in the cult. I'm in the cult. It's the MNAV is expanding out a little bit, so I'd expect more aggressive Ethereum buys. I wonder, one thing to add to it, a lot of institutions can't buy Ethereum and Bitcoin directly. So someone like a Kathy Wood and ARK Invest, they're playing it through a BM&R. So that's one thing. That's a moment in time. Also, I'm from New York, so I can't stake my Ethereum. So just there's a natural 3% yields by having someone who can do it and probably do it better than me. That is also worth it. I'm battling with some capital gains because I've held ETH for a while. I don't know. I wonder if Sailor's or if Tom's doing on also a better asset than Sailor. Some of these Bitcoin guys might hate me though.
Yeah,
you a Bitcoin guy?
I am. It's my only DCA right now. Is I have a weekly buy on Bitcoin. It ends up, it's not like massive DCA at all. It's 1% of my income. So, but Matt Money actually convinced me. I was already bullish on Bitcoin. He's like, can you live with that 1% of your income? And thankfully, my answer was yes. He's like, well, why not DCA it in Bitcoin? Because you're bullish on it in the long term. I'm like, I don't own enough Bitcoin. It makes sense. Now, at the beginning of the year, last year, at some point, I pivoted away. I had a little bit of Cardano, and I had a chunk of Ethereum from back in the prior cycle. And I ended up selling all of that and just going full into Bitcoin. I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist at all. I was like, hey, this makes sense to me. Until Tom Lee actually connected the dots. I've been calling it, with many others. It wasn't my idea that this would be the year of the stablecoin since like August last year. And we were right. Like it absolutely was. You see what happened, of course, with the Circle IPO helped. But there's a lot of players in that. But Tom Lee helped connect the dots in my mind of like, how do I actually leverage and play that beyond what I'm doing right now? And then, oh yeah, these have to be built on a layer one. And Ethereum is that chain to do that. More than half of the volume of all stablecoins, not volume, but market cap of stablecoins is on Ethereum there. Most of them launch on that as far as their initial chain. There will be other chains too, but that's the big one. So I ended up buying some Ethereum just directly, thankfully, right before the pop-up. Didn't buy the full amount that I wanted, but I finished that DCA. But yeah, I'm DCAing into Bitcoin, bullish on that. Of course, BMNR holds Bitcoin as well, in addition to Ethereum, in addition to WorldCoin and Cash. So it's a little bit diversified.
Bitcoin though, there really is not that much Bitcoin.
Yeah. So are you? Do you hold any Bitcoin at all, or are you?
Yeah, a little bit, but I felt like an idiot for the last couple of years owning a lot more Ethereum than Bitcoin. But I've always owned more ETH. As a stock guy coming into this, I was just able to understand like the ETH proposition. It's a little bit more of like a company, a tech platform than Bitcoin just kind of being the digital gold. So to me, a currency of the internet has always kind of made sense. There's always been something here with the cryptocurrency technology. And that's always been my thing. It's like, I think there's something here with the tech. We haven't been useful yet. I don't fundamentally think this is going to create hundreds of new companies. I don't think this is going to create a whole new ecosystem. What I do think this is going to do is it's going to create efficiencies across the entire financial system, like across everything, that the mainstream companies are going to get incrementally more efficient using this technology. And it's just kind of crazy that that thesis is actually kind of starting to happen here a little bit. And it honestly is still the extreme early days of it, where like that's still the thought. It really still hasn't happened like it can and should and maybe will pretty quickly. But yeah, it's that's kind of the underlying concept is crypto being able to be moved and used by all these huge companies, make them incrementally more efficient. Couple winners from it. Maybe there's one or two crypto native companies that come out, but I don't know. I don't know about this whole like ecosystem.
Yeah,
that I still have a lot of doubt with.
The thing is, when there's a fairly new technology, it's being built on, there's also going to be, if there's something real, there's going to be a lot of scammers and a lot of scamming, especially if money is flowing to it. And we've seen that with crypto. A lot of that died out, of course, during crypto winter, but we're not anywhere near the new, we might be near a new crypto winter, but the bull market for crypto has been going on for a while. So there's a lot of hype, a lot of speculation, not to the extent of 2021, but something to be careful of. I think that there will be some native crypto plays that don't just do okay, but do very well. One of those that IPO'd actually last week, Figure, not the robotics firm, but they leverage crypto basically in their lending products, initially with HELOCs. They built a whole platform around this as well. And there's all sorts of different efficiency gains. And I think that's really where crypto shines more so than the cost savings. Yes, cost savings on the cross-border side, and it can be used in payments, I think, very effectively. But efficiency gains itself, they ended up, I think, gaining more than 100 basis points as far as on the front end, as far as needing to do what they did as far as leverage. I'm losing the words. As far as underwriting the loan through that lending process, there's a massive amount of savings that Mark Hagney talked about in that roadshow. And it's really interesting, actually, of the IPOs that we saw that debuted recently. Of course, StubHub is coming up as well. It seems like Figurehead was really under the radar, and it's done really well since then. I was upset that I only got one share of allocation. I was hoping for a lot more, but ended up, at these events, not being able to have the time to focus and see that $30 dip on Figure. But there will be some winners. It is a lot easier to see it, I think, for Ethereum just because of utility. And so this is one of those easy bets, I think. Now, as far as this question, I don't share that level of detail anymore. I made the mistake of doing it because in a bull market, I don't think the best thing to be known at is your average, more so because if the bull market continues on, prices will go up, and so it's more of an allocation amount. For me, it's almost all my swing position, and I do basically I've been swinging this back and forth, willing it. I think my average is in the 40s, but yeah, the main thing is I'm making a lot of premium off of selling options on both sides, using that to actually buy more BMNR shares. And I also have some vertical spreads on BMNR too. So
Yeah, I need to learn how to sell cover calls, stuff like that a little bit better. I'll tell you, my cost base is, let's say, is 46 around there, 46.50. I would have crossed a couple of different accounts. But I don't really sell cover calls much. I've just been focused on it. But I was like, all right, I'm gonna dip my toe in a little tiny scared way. In my IRA, I had whatever amount of shares, and I sold a covered call. I sold a $70 covered call for this week, and brought in like $60 or something, and then just went in and bought a share. That was my first little foray into it. $9.19, $70 call I sold.
yeah, at some point, this is you dipping your toe into crypto more. You're already into crypto and also options, and then in 3 years you're going to be Evan the degenerate. You'll have to change your title. Maybe not, probably not, but
it's going that way slowly. I'm stopping myself. I'm too busy.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned advertising before, of course, as it relates to Robinhood specifically. There's some news that came out for PayPal today. PayPal expands offsite ads in Germany and the UK, bringing privacy-first transaction-based advertising to European markets. Advertising has been one of those that a lot of PayPal shareholders have been looking for in a while. Of course, they launched offsite ads specific in the United States earlier this year, and now they have UK and Germany. Now, when they
What
launch,
does this mean? I apologize. I don't fully understand.
Okay. Yeah. So in essence, they're able to leverage the data that they have to be able to inform ads and advertising. So the offsite means, of course, if you log on to PayPal or if you use your app, they've had ads for a little while where you just have Sephora or different others that are there advertising on the platform. This is bringing that enriched data that they have on the consumer side, also the merchant side, to be able to target, they call it the transaction graph, advertising anywhere on the web. And so these ads are a little bit different if you see them. They're just getting rolled out in the United States. This being launched, by the way, as a platform means that, merchants actually can go right away. Advertising networks, it's a matter of, gearing up campaigns, which can be a thing that takes a couple of months. So you may not see these right away, but you'll see the ad itself that's targeted to you very specifically based on prior purchases that you've had or things that you've been very interested in using the PayPal data. And you can actually click right, on the button. They'll have a button right there where you click and you just buy instantly. Of course, you have to confirm your details.
How big of a business is advertising for PayPal right now?
None, like zero, basically. They didn't break it out. It's small enough that they didn't bother breaking it out yet. I don't think that they will in Q3. I think Q4 they might, and they might guide for it. They should guide for it, frankly. They need to for the market to really understand it in the Q4 earnings for the next year. Do you know the head of PayPal advertising, by the way?
No, who is it?
Dr. Mark Gaither. So he is maybe a name that you aren't familiar with, but you'll recognize a lot of his work. So he's a guy that came in from Uber. Uber, of course, had no advertising branch. He was the head of Uber advertising and took them from nothing to over a $1 billion run rate in like a year and a half. He was also acquired in their acquisition. This is back 2013, 2014. By Amazon, where they acquired his advertising company, and he was the first to actually be able to get a client, an account working with advertising on Amazon itself, and so he was instrumental in helping Amazon go from basically no advertising at all to being the retail advertising giant that they are. So they absolutely got the right guy. Of course, PayPal has the data as well. The nice thing and kind of the frustrating thing too of PayPal is, like, literally none of this is baked in the price. Now, you did see a 1.6% pop. I mean, you look at where it's trading, it's very cheap. If advertising does anywhere near what I think that it might do, and this is a very high margin product, PayPal's price is already.
How are we not excited about this Robinhood social thing, guys? It's a great advertising play. It's gonna shock everyone. But this is interesting from PayPal. This is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like advertising is one of those things that if you have the data and if you have the platform, and I mean, like people want access to that, especially, and I'll say this too, Evan, the web is shifting to be more agentic, and so some of the traditional forms of advertising are being disrupted simply because, like we see the trade desk, it's way down, and it's partly for this reason that there's a big shift. Now they're across a lot of different forms of advertising, so not everything is impacted. Versus something like AppLovin, where you're playing a mobile game or something, and you have real human eyeballs on that. Like bots aren't playing games, agents aren't playing games. I mean, maybe a few, but they know that these are real human eyeballs. They know your data. They know what you're interested in. They know you very well. And so that form of advertising works really well. It's hard to not see this succeed, for PayPal and also for Robinhood if they go that direction. I mean, they're even making advertising dollars.
This is where, like, I'm seeing ads for ETFs on Uber. You cannot tell me that ads for ETFs on Robinhood and PayPal and SoFi are not going to be exponentially better ROI for these ETF companies. They're going to be able to charge 3x the amount. It's probably going to be the same ROI. These advertising businesses for these people, they just gotta, I don't know the compliance things with it. And they have to do it in the right way. But yeah, these are big opportunities. I see why we're excited about it.
Yeah. And there's just a lot of stuff going on. There's actually a article that came out last week on PayPal advertising as well. And they mentioned that there was this beauty chain that they were working with on a national level, and a Sephora, and they're looking at all different kinds of lift and impact. And it was
Sephora.
Yeah, Sephora. Thank you. Haven't had my coffee yet today. So, but tremendous, ridiculous results. I was looking for that and I wasn't able to find that post, but it came out last week. It's high margin too. It's not like rocket science or anything like that. So yeah, a lot of these companies that are just sitting on the data, especially when it's tied into finances, like you said, like you did a lot of flying over this last week. I did as well. Like in the airports, even I saw Gemini that IPO'd recently. I saw all sorts of different ETF advertisements, a lot of blockchain stuff as well. That is some of the most lucrative form of advertising too. So it's a natural fit there for Robinhood, I think. So if they go that direction, we'll see. The nice thing is they don't even need to, and they'll do quite well. All right, so this is probably the biggest piece of
no.
Yeah,
Powell Day.
Information out here.
Coming at you live.
We have very likely rate cuts. The CME group president was actually there at the Robinhood Summit. He mentioned that if we don't get rate cuts, because the market is 94% confident that we'll get at least 1, 6% that we'll get 2. If you look at predictions markets, which maybe that's more reliable, maybe not, on Kalshi, on Robinhood as well, which is informed by Kalshi. It's actually a little bit higher for the rate cuts for the double cut. But if we don't get a rate cut at all, that's going to be really bad. But Evan, any guesses what Powell says or doesn't say today?
Did you see it? Did you see my gamble I took?
I did, yeah.
So all right, I listen, whatever. Well, it's this, and I literally did it with $7.84. Where when we're truly at the casino, and Roy has actually seen me at the casino, I said, don't let me pull out any more money, and I did pull out more money, but it was a very reasonable thing, and I stopped myself at a good point. Roy was a good friend there. Knew when to go, pull back. It was a good wingman there. I put $7.84 on him to say the word stagflation. And if he says it, I get $31. Now, my thinking there, stagflation, someone's going to ask him about it, and he's going to do the patented, it's way too early to think about stagflation. That's what I'm booking in here. So I think what we're watching for, obviously, is if you look back at history, like I'm sure the prediction markets are going to be better tells of it, but the CME Fed Watch, we have the data. At this point in time, it's pretty much fully certain that he's going to do that. And in the past, he's going to do the rate cut, 25 basis points. And if it was going to be anything different, it would have been leaked, is what's been Powell MO that one time that happened with Nick Timiraos. So Uber down 5% today, just got that notification. So
Ooh.
Yeah, I think that we're locked in for a 25-point cut. It's basically the question is what is this the start of something? Is this a, are we going to get 2 more rate cuts this year? Are we going to get 1? I don't know what people expect Powell to say. I think he's clearly going to say, "Hey, the next meeting is live. We're going to be data dependent. We'll see what we say. We'll see what we end up getting." Powell's going to say a whole lot of nothing for a lot of this, and I bet you about 2/3 of the way through, a third of the way through, when he's been whittled down with just these questions, saying the same thing in a different way, he's going to say something that gives you what is the path here of, are we expecting 3 rate cuts? Are we expecting 2? Are we expecting 1? One other caveat, then I'll throw it back over to you. The summary of economic projections that will be released with this meeting. That comes out at 2 p.m. Eastern. That tells you right now what the Fed thinks rates will be at the end of this year, next year, and the year after. So no matter what Powell says, you kind of have here's what everyone is thinking. Last time, I believe it said 2 rate cuts this year was the kind of MO, but it was a little bit split. I'd say a lot of eyes are going to be on this dot plot. I would like to throw the same question over to you. What are you watching for this Powell thing? How do you feel about my stagflation little play there?
So related to that, it would be really funny, if Powell is like, he's not going to do this. He's not the type of guy to do this, but he's like, you know what? I'm going to just throw the word stagflation out there. I'm going to make a, $5 million bet on the predictions market. I don't know if there's legally anything that's wrong with that. But it's just kind of wild and crazy times that we're out there. I would take the under. I don't think, I'm not going to make a prediction or bet, but here I will. I don't think he'll say stagflation. That's something that, well, if he's asking about that, he'll comment on it for sure. I don't know that it gets asked about that. There is some concern as far as jobs numbers, but it's not overwhelming. I think the biggest issue is, the Fed rate is not neutral. And right now, I think the environment that we're in, we do see a little bit of softness, not so much on the consumer side, but in the jobs market as well, which is kind of interesting. So it makes a lot more sense with where inflation is as well and what happened with tariffs to be neutral right now instead of aggressive and tight, not tightening, but tighter than what neutral policy would be. Now, you made a great point on the end of the year because I think, Powell, one thing that he's done really well is help people know exactly what's coming. There have not been any surprises ever since they moved away from transitory talk way back during COVID. And frankly, they were really late and they were way behind and they were wrong. But since that time, there's been no surprises, which is a great thing. So I think that we'll get no surprises here for 25 basis points. Now, further out, that's
Jerome Powell is not a surprise guy.
He's not, yeah. And so this is looking at the end of the year. Of course, it can cut other times in the meeting, but that's usually in dire circumstances and not good. So 10th of December, we're looking at, right now we're at 425 to 450, and the consensus is for 350 to 375, which would be 3 cuts. So if we don't get the 3 cuts, if they come out today with the projections and the dot plots, and the consensus is 2, even if we get a rate cut, that might actually move the markets temporarily down lower. Now we're in a bull market. Earnings were incredibly good. So I have little doubts that we'll recover. It may take an hour. It may take a day. It may take several weeks. The markets are the markets. But do you think that we'll get a surprise here,
Evan? I don't know. I see. My thing is the market is just moving so quickly on what its expectations are that, yeah, there probably will be 1 or 2 more surprises when you're looking forward. I don't know if it's today. Roy, I think I'm just feeling pretty bullish right now. Where my lean is towards, we're pumping. That's where he's probably going to tell us I got your back. I'm going to pull back a little bit. Some of the numbers are looking a little interesting here where I don't know, they keep saying we are moderately restrictive, but this seems like an environment where, you shouldn't be moderately restrictive. Maybe you are more moderate or just restrictive or something like that. So, I don't know. I think that when I'm thinking forward, I'm thinking about it from a very bullish standpoint, and I don't want to say something and then later today it's the complete opposite. I lean towards we're gonna get a shot. I lean towards Powell's gonna gonna pump my bags, BMNR 65, 70. I'm gonna be complaining about my $70 covered calls that I sold for the first time ever getting called away. If you want me to say it, I will.
Yeah, I mean, good times. That's a good problem to have. And to your credit, like if you look at the last month, the odds of 3 rate cuts by the end of the year were around 30%. So things have shifted a lot over the last month. They'll shift a lot today too, depending on what happens. Now, you mentioned Uber being down. I don't know if you caught the headline, but it's actually related to Lyft. Of course, Uber is, I'm zoomed in a little bit. I think you guys can see it though. It's down 4.87%. We see Lyft is up now 11%. Of course, in the pre-market, it was up nearly 30% at one point. They announced a partnership agreement with Waymo. So Uber is, people perceive this as like, oh man, Lyft is going the autonomous driver route. And so that there's a little bit more competition there for Uber. Do you think that this actually is that bearish for Uber, or is this just the market overreacting?
Market overreacting. So there is this weird Tesla versus Uber thing going on, even though they just partnered the other day.
I know.
There's huge change to mobility coming up right now, and I just think it's a big market. And I think if you're focused on mobility as we switch from people driving to computers driving, from maybe ICE to electric, I don't like that one. I'm like, okay, we'll see. Like it makes sense, but the computers driving themselves, it feels like that's just coming. It's a matter of when, and maybe it's not 5 years away. Maybe it's 10. I don't know. Maybe it's 20. Maybe it's 200. Who knows? I don't know. I feel like it's here now, but yeah. So I just think there's a lot of changes coming up. If you're focused on mobility right now, that's a place to be. I think Uber is a winner. I think Tesla is a winner. I think Rivian is a gamble that I'm willing to take a bet on. And I've been in a Lyft trade because if you kind of look at the how much money it's bringing in, it's a profitable company. It's still growing. It's a household name. And then you check in at the valuation it was trading at. I don't want to quote up a random number, but it was a very low valuation. This was a left for dead stock. So I don't know. I think that Lyft is the one that I find interesting here, where it can go from cheap to normal valued, and I'm not super interested in it. But it was a cheap name that I've been playing it through. So my money would be on Uber in the long term. I have to look into some Lyft stuff after this move, but
not wrong to do a valuation play there. Lyft is far from dead. I actually, I took Uber a fair bit in the couple of trips, and on most of those, the guys were also Lyft drivers too, which I think is pretty common these days. So
they make more money from Lyft.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I think it's better for them, and I think I need to actually compare it head to head. That's a little bit cheaper than Uber usually. Waymo may also help them in that direction too. Robotaxi will be interesting. I've still not taken one, even though it's up in Austin. I need to just make a trip up there. We tried to take Amazon's. Do you think Amazon? We didn't get to experience it, but do you think Amazon could be a legitimate player here?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't count Amazon out as my thing. It's a pretty ugly car. I mean, what are we talking about here? I saw Sawyer Merritt. He posted a video. Apparently, it had to be a specific hotel or something. And there was pre-planned routes. So I don't know if I missed the full headline or I just saw it and was like, all right, cool. And then, but so that was user error. I think it would be wrong to count Amazon out. I bet you we're pretty early on into this. It feels like these tech companies are going to be winners. I don't know. I've heard Steve talk. I think it was with you on Friday night at midnight or whatever it is, which was a crazy time for us to be streaming. But big names are going to continue to winning and get bigger, and this feels like a space that's going to be dominated by a lot of these big names. So I don't know what happens to the GMs, the Fords, the Toyotas. But Amazon feels like the name I would be betting on over any of those.
Well, the nice thing for them is they can just sell their vehicle. In the usual setup's like a Waymo, where you install the LiDAR technology. And of course, you need a lot of the same type of vehicle. Just the whole thing works a lot better. But, somebody still has to make the vehicle for them. Tesla, of course, is making their own for the robotaxis. So I'm sure that at some point, if they haven't already entered, and I know some of these have, they'll strike deals as these autonomous vehicles continue to scale and do well and become more accepted widely, instead of just a few certain cities here and there. We'll see a lot of cars that are sold for that means. And they may even start breaking out and saying, okay, these are sold to this type. Probably not, but they're not being left behind at all. Somebody has to make the car. So
think about how much debt they have.
I know, like the
Someone has
legacy
to make
vehicles.
cars, and also the way we make cars is changing too. I just don't. I really would not put a bet on one of those GM Fords. Maybe a Toyota.
No.
Like if you went to business school, you learned about the Toyota Pro systems and the necessity of like the lack of space, breeding necessity, and stuff like that. So there will be great manufacturing companies. And that is an edge. I just don't know if the incumbent winners right now are like Ford created the assembly line. They need to get their act together on manufacturing. I don't know. You're probably right, but teleportation is 50 years away though. Timeline Tanner knows.
That's right. Yeah. I don't hate your Rivian bet either. I've swung Rivian before. If there is a second pure EV company that makes it profitable, it'll be Rivian. I mean, the biggest thing is Elon, I think, has alienated some people that would otherwise love to buy a Tesla that won't. I've got some of those in my family too, or one in particular. And, the bottom line is, for vehicles, it's a status symbol. And so, people sometimes don't want their identity tied to certain brands versus like if it's an underlying technology, like a piece of software that nobody sees the branding of, you don't really care at that point. So Rivian is that next logical brand where I see a lot of people that Elon has alienated that have flocked to that. I've met like maybe one or two people that are Rivian owners that are like, yeah, it's okay. But most people that own Rivians love it. I've talked to our local Amazon driver. He drives a Rivian. He loves it to the extent that he wants to buy a Rivian at some point for himself. But they, are fairly cheap. They're still burning money as well. But I think they have a lot that they could benefit from in this next wave. And the one thing is, like, is there a point where they just say, we can't do this on our own, and then they get acquired by somebody else? I think so, but I don't think they're going to ever go bankrupt. The product is there, the demand is ramping, especially if this next vehicle that they have coming out ends up selling at the price point that many expect, and they can actually leverage that through Wright's law, basically expanding the amount that they are scaling the amount that they're manufacturing, selling it for every million units tends to be a 20% drop in costs for manufacturing, just because the benefits of scale. Could they be profitable at that point, or at least close to it? I think so. And some of their technology they're leveraging to other manufacturers. So not in it. I don't know that I want to be in it, at least here, but I mean, it's not a bad play at all, especially with rate cuts coming. That also benefits them. Oh, for you, Rivian, like, is there any specific reason why Rivian beyond that attracted you to that play, or?
So you hit on a lot of it there. This isn't one that I'm pounding the table on PM&R, trying to be a leader of. To me, it's just one of those little bit cheap, has the chance for a 10x when I'm thinking about this in there. And if they can really kind of get some love for autonomy and get some love for all this other services and really take on a big industry, that there is a 10x possible there. We could talk through the numbers and really do a deeper dive. But I'm just sitting there like, all right, maybe there's a 15-20% chance in my head that this is a 10x. I'm in that stage of life where that there's the odds that I am willing to take at this point. So
you got time on your side, and it's a low valuation, and it's not going bankrupt. So the Rivian is interesting too. At the Robinhood Summit, I ran into somebody that has worked all over big tech, brilliant guy, and he's huge into Rivian. At some point, I mentioned to Tanner and Tevis, but we're going to have him on for a stock tank episode. None of us are in Rivian, but we'd like to hear more. So if you wanted to join on that, too, yeah, we'll definitely let you know, because you're in Rivian. And it's always good. Like, sometimes we can write off companies that, Rivian had that fantastic initial IPO. Then the market and also Rivian kind of tanked all at the same time. And a lot of us, including myself, other than just swing trades, were like, Rivian, nope, this isn't it. Well, it has not sat still since the IPO over these last 4 years. So it's worth learning about. This is a question, and feel free to answer this or not, Evan. If you prefer not to, that's certainly fine. What are our favorite long-term stocks considering current conjecture? So for me, it's the ones that I'm already allocated in. So obviously, Palantir is one of those that we hadn't talked about today, but it's a fantastic company. Very expensive stock, but if you're talking long-term, like they have such a ridiculous moat and advantage. I think the market is still not in terms of share price. I'm not saying that, but as far as the actual company, the market is still not fully understanding what Palantir, not just what Palantir does, but where they can go in the future. This is a company that is leading, especially in the software side, on enterprise software, the AI wave. They're so well positioned. Like a lot of people look at disruptors and other competition. They're like, oh, LLMs are going to get better, so there's no need for Palantir. It's like, no, it's as LLMs get better, use cases expand, and the more you need Palantir actually to be able to operate and leverage the AI within your enterprise system, unless you really like hallucinations and fractured data. And most companies realize at this point where that's not the case. Beyond that, PayPal is a big one for me. We talked about PayPal earlier. Robinhood is my largest holding. SoFi we didn't talk about, but SoFi is a massive beneficiary of rate cuts. And then after that, I'd say that there's a bit of a drop off in terms of conviction. Maybe Hims and Hers there. It's a position for me that I think short term there's some headwinds and it's a little bit tough, but long term I think they're positioned well. Nubank is right there in terms of conviction, and Nvidia too, which Nvidia is my anchor stock. So I probably should have said that one. I think that over the next 5 years they'll do well. They're not going to have like grow 50% a year in terms of stock price like they did previously. Maybe 1 year in there. But I think that they're going to beat the S&P 500. So that's a long-term conviction for me. Do you have any names that perhaps we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention that were a favorite of yours?
All right. First of all, I would put in here, I'm going to cheat a little and say mega cap tech. I said that QTAP ETF, but whatever. I don't know. You could pick one in there. I like Meta a lot right now. Meta is one I just bought a little bit more of. Nvidia is obviously fantastic as well. But just mega cap tech in general, as far as at this point in time and what I've been buying right now, BMNR, SoFi seem like ones that definitely stand out for me that you were talking about there. I don't even know if you said BMNR there.
I didn't. It's mostly my swing positions. So, when I do my portfolio review here in the next couple of weeks.
Not a full cult member.
But yeah. Oh, well, I'm not sure like how long I'll be in BMNR as a thing. Like at least I expect at least 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 years. Ethereum's easier for me to hold like super long term, and so I don't know if I'm going to start taking profits and putting it into Ethereum at that point, or if there's a chunk, which I think is probably the direction I'm heading, that I'll just hold, and it'll probably outperform Ethereum, but during a crypto winter it'll underperform. So it goes.
And then because I do have to go in a minute. I appreciate you. If you guys are not subscribed to Roy's channel, you are missing out. We'll hopefully do more of these. Maybe we get Roy on my channel, on the Wolf channel. We'll see whatever it is. Like this live stream, Roy may continue or whatever after. I did buy a little bit of a new stock yesterday. This is one of those buy and then confirm type things. So we'll go after. But I've heard a lot of people liking it, and it was enough that it's been on my radar, and I had a big drop the other day because of a share offering. Voting Evan for new pope. I don't know, man. I think there are some reasons why that wouldn't win. But I bought a little bit of Rocket Lab. I started a little Rocket Lab position, RKLB, after the latest share offering. We'll see. We'll dig in. I would wonder if you have thoughts, if your crew, if you've done a stock tank that I could go in and listen to some thoughts on Rocket Lab. But some very smart people I know are fans of it. The general concept aligns with your space and what do I think the moat is there right now when it's getting stuff to orbit, not necessarily the satellites. It's an interesting one for me.
Yeah, Matt Money is the guy to follow on that. He pounded the table for a long time. At $4 a share, I started listening, and then I made the mistake that you didn't make. So credit to you. Drunken Millers, invest and investigate. It's not that you just YOLO into a stock and then you take a look. But, at a certain point, you need to buy. And rather than in a bull market, especially waiting until you've done and gone through every 10Q and 10K and every investor day presentation and seen what analysts say, there's a point where it's like, okay, maybe I should just buy this thing and continue to investigate on my way. So I've fixed and resolved that mistake. So Air Test Systems is like the more recent one, which maybe I should have mentioned in that top 5 too, for me. Although it's not top 5 sizing yet, it's getting close. But I missed the boat on Rocket Lab because it went from $4 to $7 while I was investigating. It's like, well, let me get it on a pullback to 6, which never came. When it hit to 11, I'm like, well, let me get it on a pullback to single digits, which didn't happen. And so that one got away from me despite me seeing the thesis there. So that was a mistake on me. Rookie investor move, happens to all of us. So Evan, great job on, investing and then investigating. The nice thing is, as far as sizing, like this isn't like you YOLOing 50% of your portfolio. It's buying enough of a position where it fixes your attention a little bit more on that stock. You'll research and do more, either build conviction or say, you know what, this is not a long-term holding for me. And in a bull market, hopefully you make money on a little swing anyway. I've done that before too. So, but yeah, I think it's a great company positioned well. Also benefits some from a little bit of Elon hate that some do have, where I don't think that SpaceX is necessarily going to be in a bad position, but Rocket Lab does benefit just because it doesn't have the political overhang. So, but yeah, there are multiple winners that it's going to be in the space race. Needs to be more than one company, so it's a good thing. They're doing great things. All right, I think that let's wrap on that note. Thank you guys for joining us today. We'll do another one of these here in the near future. Evan, thank you for hopping on. Where can people find you?
X, YouTube. I appreciate you all. I have a call in the background with actually someone. Let's just say they work with someone that we're really excited and fans of. So I appreciate you. Subscribe to the channel. X everywhere. Shout out, Roy.
All right, later, guys.